Hi everyone, I'm Polly. Nice to meet you on my channel. In this video, I would like to present you a tutorial for these very beautiful, comfortable, warm slippers. Very good for babies, kids and adults. You can see these slippers on my son's feet. They are big for him because I made them as a present for my niece. We'll make together the slippers for the size from 35 till 38, and I will give you all the indication how to make the slippers for the size 38 till 40. I mean European size. Let's start. In this tutorial I used the yarn of brown color. It's a wool yarn, 400 meters in 100 grams. I used it double. I just picked the end of the yarn from the inside part and another one from the outside part. Then I have a white cream color yarn, also wool yarn, for about the same thickness. I'm using the hook 3.5 millimeters. Then I needed a little bit of rose yarn, very little of white yarn for the eyes, and the hook 3 millimeters because this yarn is thin, very little of black yarn, a needle, scissors, and 3 stitch markers. We'll start with the white yarn. Let's make a magic circle, and then inside the magic circle I'm going to work 10 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 9 and 10. Pull the yarn and the row number 2. In the row number 2 I'm going to work 2 single crochet in each stitch. I have made 2 single crochet. I should put my stitch marker as I work in a spiral, and I'm going to continue to work in each stitch 2 single crochet. The last 2 stitches, 2 single crochet in each stitch. The second row is completed. I'm replacing my stitch marker. The row number 3. I'm working 2 single crochets into the first stitch. I'm putting my stitch marker in the first stitch. In the next stitch I'm going to work only 1 single crochet. In the next stitch I'm going to work 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And so on, I'm working 1 single crochet, and in the next stitch 2 single crochets, and again 1 single crochet, and into the next stitch 2 single crochets, and so on till the end of the row. I'm arriving at the end of the row. I'm replacing my stitch marker and my row is finished. There's people who needs the size of the slippers from 38 till 40 should add another row I'll show you now. Who is working with me the size from 35 till 37 should just skip this next part. Attention, the time code is available. You could go on the description below the video and just click on the time of the part you need. For the sizes from 38 till 40, we are going to work one additional round. I'm replacing my stitch marker and I'm going to work 2 single crochet into the same stitch. I'm replacing my stitch marker on my first stitch and I'm going to work 4 single crochets, one by one, one stitch, one single crochet, 4 times. After that, into the next stitch, I'm going to work 2 single crochet. Then again, 4 single crochets, one stitch, one single crochet, 4 times. Then again, into the next stitch, I'm going to work 2 single crochets, and so on till the end of the round. I'm at the end of the round and I'm finishing the round with 4 single crochets. This round is an additional round and we are not going to count it. We'll just proceed to make our pattern together with the sizes from 35 till 37. So let's proceed with the round number 4. The rounds number 4 and 5, we are working making the single crochets, one stitch, one single crochet, one stitch, one single crochet. 2 rounds, the 4th and the 5th, we are working in the same mode. One stitch, one single crochet. The round number 6. In this round, we are going to make the increasements. We need 2 stitch markers and I'm going to fold my piece in this mode and I'm going to sign with the stitch markers the central stitches on the both sides in this mode. In these stitches I'm going to make the increasements. I'm replacing my stitch marker and I'm going to work a single crochets, one stitch, one single crochet, one stitch, one single crochet till the marked stitch. I've replaced my stitch marker of the beginning of the row. Now I write at my stitch marker, I'm replacing my stitch marker and I'm going to work 2 single crochets into the marked stitch. That is. Now I'm going to replace my stitch marker, but not in this mode to replace it every round. I'm just putting it below. So when I will need to make another increasement, I know where to make it. And I'm going to work my single crochets, one stitch, one single crochet, till the next stitch marker. I'm arriving at my stitch marker. I'm replacing the stitch marker. And I'm working 2 single crochets into the marked stitch. This is my increasement. And I'm putting my stitch marker somewhere below, just not to replace it every round. In this mode, I know where to make my further increasement. Working the single crochets, I arrived at the end of the row. After the 6 rounds, look, our white piece is changing its form. It's becoming like here. Now, the next 6 rounds from the 7th till the 12th, we will work with only single crochets. 1 stitch, 1 single crochet, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet. Let's make these 6 rounds. I made my 6 rounds with the white yarn, and I also have prepared a white piece for the sizes from 38 till 40, following the instructions. Now I'll show you. Look, it's bigger. Now I'll show it on my foot. I wear the size 39. It's perfect for me. After 4 rounds with the brown yarn, I will make another increasement. If your foot requires more increasements, please make more increasements. Now I'm going to cut my white yarn and to take a brown yarn. I'm replacing my stitch marker, I don't need it anymore. I'm working a slip stitch with the white yarn, pulling it out, and taking my brown yarn and pulling it through and working a chain. Now I want to wave my ends, but not all together at the same time. First, I'm taking my white ends and putting the ends among my border, my white border. And I'm working the single crochets, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet with the brown yarn. My white ends now are among my crochets. I'm fixing my white ends in a very solid mode. This row I'm going to work the single crochets, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet. Now I can cut away the white ends. They're fixed very good, and they're inside my single crochets. And I continue to work my single crochets till the end of the row. In the second round, I'm going to wave my brown ends. And in the same mode, working my single crochets, I put my ends among my crochets. And I'm fixing them very good. I'm at the end of the second row. I'm going to work another 2 rows with only single crochets, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet. After 4 rounds with the brown yarn, I'm going to make the round with the increasements. I'm folding my piece and I'm going to replace the stitch markers. These are the stitches where I'm going to make the increasements. So the round number 5 with the brown color I'm making with a single crochet, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet, and when I arrive at my stitch marker, in this stitch I'm working 2 single crochets all together into the same stitch. And if you think that you need other increasements, replace the stitch marker and go ahead. I don't need any increasement anymore, so I don't put my stitch marker. It's better to try the piece on your foot and look whether you need more increasements, maybe before this row or after this row. I'm just showing you where do I do the increasements for my foot. You can make your personal increasements to fit better. I've made my increasements and now I'm going to work with the brown yarn all the rounds of only single crochets, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet. It's better to try on your foot how long should you work your single crochets. I could just tell you that I worked the total length of my white and brown part of 13 centimeters and the only brown part is 8.5 centimeters in my case for the size 36. Let's make our rounds. I made my rounds. I arrived at 8.5 centimeters length of my brown part. Look, the part where we have changed the yarn is our bottom part of the slipper and the opposite part is the upper part. In the middle of the upper part I have marked 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches in the center of the upper part. I'm putting my hook and I'm going to work the single crochets till I arrive at the marked stitch. I arrived at the marked stitch. I don't replace the stitch marker and I don't work a single crochet into the marked stitch. I'm turning my work and I'm chaining 1. Now I'm going to work a ripe stitch and I'm inserting my hook on the back side of the stitch, only on the back side of the stitch, and I'm working a single crochet. And so on, I'm going to work my single crochets using only the back side of the stitch till the second stitch marker. I'm at my stitch marker, almost at my stitch marker, the last single crochet. I don't work a single crochet into the stitch marker. I'm turning my work, chaining 1, and now I'm going to make an increasement because I want my back side of the slipper higher. So I'm working 2 single crochets into the next stitch using only the back side of the stitch. 1 single crochet and the second single crochet. And I will continue my row with the single crochets, 1 stitch, 1 single crochet, using only the back side of the stitch. I'm arriving at the end of the row. I'm working my last single crochets. I'm turning my work. I'm chaining 1 and I'm going to make an increasement. I'm going to work 2 single crochets into the first stitch using only the back side. 2 single crochets. And I continue with 1 stitch, 1 single crochet till the end of the row, and so on till you will arrive at the desired length of the slipper. making the increasement, your slipper will have this shape. The back side will get taller and taller, higher and higher. It's elastic and it fits very good. I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stripes, so I have worked 14 rows. Let's check from this part. Yes, 7 stripes from this part also. So 14 rows plus these rows in the middle. I have worked my 14 rounds, and in the middle I have marked 6 stitches. Just in the middle, 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to make my single crochets till the stitch marker. I arrived at my stitch marker. Now I should turn my work on the wrong side. And I'm going to work these 6 stitches together, like here. I'm replacing the stitch marker. I'm inserting the hook under the back side of the stitch, grab the yarn and pull through. I'm inserting the hook into the next stitch, grab the yarn and pull through, and again insert, grab the yarn, pull through, and so on, all the 6 stitches. Now I have 7 stitches on my hook. 1 I have had before. I'm making yarn over and I'm pulling through all these 7 stitches and chain 1. Okay, let's proceed sewing. I'm going to sew my both parts of the back side. I'm going to insert the hook into the next stitch using only the back side of the stitch, and I'm searching for the stitch on the other side. I'm inserting the hook on the back side and I'm working a single crochet. And again I'm inserting the hook into the next stitch using only the back side. I'm searching the stitch on the other part and I'm working a single crochet, and so on till the end of the row. I'm at the end. I have a couple of stitches. I'm working my single crochet. Here I'm inserting the stitch at the very edge, somewhere here, and from the other side, and I'm working a slip stitch. Now I'm making a chain, pulling out the yarn. I will leave the yarn along about 25-30 centimeters because I'm going to make a tail for my slippers. Now look, what do we have? We have the slipper. It's ready. It has this shape, the elastic back part. And now let's start with the decorations. Let's start with the ears. For each ear we need 2 circles, 1 rose and 1 brown. Let's make the circles. The circles have the same pattern. For my brown ear I'm using not double but single yarn. but if you're working with a thick single yarn, it's the same. I'm starting with a magic circle, and then I'm going to work 6 single crochets into the magic circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm pulling the yarn and now the second row. In the second row I'm going to work 2 single crochets into each stitch. So the first stitch I'm working 2 single crochets. I'm putting my stitch marker because I'm working in a spiral. Into the next stitch I'm working 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch again 2 single crochets, and so on till the end of the row. I'm at the end of the row, round number 3. I'm putting away my stitch marker, and into the first stitch I'm going to work 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. I'm replacing my stitch marker. Now into the next stitch I'm going to work only 1 single crochet. Then into the next stitch 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch only 1 single crochet. And then again 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And into the next stitch 1 single crochet. And so on till the end of the row. I'm at the end of my round, the 4th round. I'm going to start with 2 single crochets into the same stitch. I'm replacing my stitch marker, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet into the next stitch, into the second stitch, and into the next stitch again 1 single crochet. And again 2 single crochets into the next stitch. Into the next stitch only 1 single crochet. And again 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And I will repeat, working 2 single crochets into the same stitch, and then the next 2 stitches only 1 single crochet in each stitch. I'm arriving at the end of the row, and I'm finishing my row with 2 single crochets into each stitch. Now the row number 5, I'm going to start with 2 double crochets into the first stitch. I'm replacing my stitch marker, and into the second, third and the fourth stitch I'm going to work only 1 single crochet. So the second stitch 1 single crochet, the third stitch 1 single crochet, and the fourth stitch 1 single crochet. Now again into the next stitch I'm going to work 2 single crochets, and again into the next 3 stitches I'm going to work only 1 single crochet. And I'm going to repeat my pattern, 2 single crochets into the next stitch, and into the next 3 stitches only 1 single crochet. I've completed my 5th row. I'm making a slip stitch, and I'm taking my rose circle that is made in the same mode than a brown one. I'm putting my 2 circles right sides out. Doesn't matter to wave the ends, just put them inside. Now I should pull my brown yarn, my brown loop, through the rose board of the circle, and I'm chaining 1. Now I'm going to sew my 2 circles. I'm inserting the hook under the stitch of the rose circle, then under the stitch of my brown circle, and I'm working a single crochet. And again, I'm inserting the hook under the rose stitch and brown stitch, and I'm working a single crochet, and so on till the end of the round. I'm making my last single crochet and then a slip stitch. Now I'm going to make this shape for my ear. I'm skipping 3 stitches, and I'm inserting the hook into the 4th stitch, and I'm pulling through my yarn. I'm cutting it away, leaving a tail about 20 centimeters, maybe more, because with this tail I will sew my ear to the slipper. Now I'm going to make a few stitches to fix my ear good. Okay, now it's fixed and it's ready. For the second ear, you should repeat the pattern of the first ear. And now the eyes. We'll start with the magic circle, and I'm going to work 6 single crochet into the magic circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm pulling the yarn, my white yarn for the eyes, and the next row is the last row. I'm going to work 2 single crochets into each stitch. 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets, and again 1 single crochet and the second single crochet, and so on till the end of the row. Totally I have made 12 single crochets. I am working a slip stitch. I'm pulling out my yarn, cutting it, leaving the tail about 20-30 centimeters, because I'll need it to sew my eye on the slipper. Now you should take the needle with the black yarn and finish the eye. The second eye has the same pattern like the first one. For the horn, I will not start with the magic circle, but I will leave the tail of the yarn of about 20-30 centimeters, because I will need it to sew my horn on the slipper. I will start with a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to insert my hook into the first chain, and I'm working a single crochet. I will work the single crochets into the each chain. As I will work in a spiral, I'm putting the stitch marker into the first stitch. I'm at the end of the first row. I'm replacing my stitch marker, and my second row I will start by decreasing my stitches. I'm inserting the hook into the first stitch and I'm pulling through the yarn. I'm inserting the hook into my second stitch and I'm pulling through the yarn. I'm pulling the yarn through all these 3 stitches. I made 1 decreasement. In all the next stitches I will work 1 single crochet. The third row I will work 1 stitch, 1 single crochet all the row without any decreasement. 1 stitch, 1 single crochet till the end of the row. The fourth row I will start with another decreasement. I'm going to make my decreasements on the same side of the horn. In this mode, the horn will take this shape. I'm inserting the hook under the first stitch and I'm pulling the yarn. I'm inserting the hook into the second stitch and I'm pulling the yarn. And now I'm pulling the yarn through all these 3 stitches. I have made a decreasement. I'm signing my first stitch with a stitch marker. And I'm going to work single crochet into each stitch. 1 stitch, 1 single crochet till the end of the row. Finished my 4th row, I will start with the 5th row. In the 5th row I will work 1 stitch, 1 single crochet. So I will work 1 row without any decreasement and 1 row with a decreasement, and again 1 row without decreasements and 1 row with a decreasement. I am finishing my 5th row without any decreasement. I'm arriving at my stitch marker. I'm replacing my stitch marker. And again, I'm going to start the row, my 6th row, with a decreasement. I'm working it in the same mode like before. I'm signing my first stitch with a stitch marker. And I'm continuing my 6th row, working 1 single crochet into each stitch. Now it's more difficult to work our crochets because we have very little stitches. But we should go ahead till we have 3-4 stitches. It depends on your yarn, on your capacity. Till you are able to work your stitches, you should go ahead. I'm completing my 6th row, the last stitch. I'm replacing my stitch marker, and the 7th row, I'm working 1 stitch, 1 single crochet. Don't forget to sign the first stitch with a stitch marker. A couple of stitches again, and I will arrive at the end of my 7th row. The last one. I'm working my single crochet. I'm replacing the stitch marker, and the 8th row I'm starting with a decreasement. I made my decreasement. Now I don't need to put my stitch marker because I have very little stitches. My yarn is thick, and I think that I will not be able to go ahead a lot. Just a couple of stitches. Yes, that was the last single crochet. And after the last single crochet, I made a slip stitch. Now the tail of the yarn I will put inside the horn with a needle. One horn is ready. Look, it has its inclination. The second horn you will make in the same mode, and you will attach them. One should look at the left and another should look at the right. Once we have ready all the pieces, we should sew them on the slipper. First, the ears. The ears I put just near my elastic backside. Then the horns somewhere in the middle. The eyes also somewhere in the middle. I prefer this position. And once we sewed all the pieces, let's make the nostrils. For the first slipper, choose the position for the nostrils you like. I have already made my first slipper, and I'm going to copy the position. So, how many rows do I have? I'll just count. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rows. I'm counting here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, and a little bit on the right I will go and stop here. Yes, stop here. I'm inserting my hook. I'm grabbing my rose yarn and I'm chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. Now yarn over, I'm inserting my hook. Grab the yarn, pull through, grab the yarn, pull through 2 loops, and then stop. Again, grab the yarn, insert the hook, grab the yarn, pull through, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops, and then stop. And again, grab the yarn, yarn over, insert the hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops and stop. And for the last time, yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now I have 5 loops on my hook. Now I'm making yarn over and I'm pulling it through all these 5 loops. And I'm fixing it with chaining 1. It's a kind of bubble. Now I'm pulling out the yarn, leaving a little end, about 15 centimeters. Pulling out the yarn. Now I should fix the nostril. I should find the right position. And I'm going to insert the hook from the inside part of the slipper. I'm grabbing the yarn and pulling it through first the initial tail and then the tail of the end of the nostril. Then with the needle I will fix the yarns inside the slipper. Our slippers are decorated and we have only to make the tail, like here. I have these yarns, plus I'm cutting 5 pieces of yarns, long about 50 centimeters. And I'm going to fix my yarns on the back side of the slipper. Just pulling the yarns through, and that's all. Now I have 10 pieces of the yarn plus 2 pieces which were here. I'm dividing my yarns into 3 parts and I'm starting to make a braid. I'm making my braid very tighten, so my tail will be more funny. When I am okay with the length of my braid, I'm making a knot and cutting away the yarns. The tail is ready and our slippers are also ready. The slippers are very comfortable because they are made an elastic backside. They are very funny, very warm, and it could be a beautiful Christmas present.